Living alone as we grow older is often painted as a picture of peace and freedom, no interruptions, no obligations. While this holds some truth, there's a deeper, more complex reality that many don't share until they experience it firsthand. From being your own emergency backup to finding joy in everyday routines, living alone comes with its own set of joys and challenges. In this video, we'll explore these untold aspects through real-life stories and practical insights, helping you navigate this journey with confidence, purpose, and fulfillment. Let's uncover the hidden truths of living alone and how to thrive in this phase of life. One of the most unexpected challenges of living alone in later years is realizing you have to be your own emergency backup. Without someone in the house to notice if something goes wrong, ensuring your safety becomes a priority. Mr. Anderson, a retired firefighter, learned this lesson firsthand after slipping in his garden one afternoon. Though the fall was minor, the realization struck him: there was no one nearby to call for help. This moment inspired him to make changes, starting with carrying his phone everywhere, even in the shower. He also invested in a smartwatch with a medical alert feature, giving him peace of mind. Another practical tip he adopted was installing an emergency key lockbox outside his home, so trusted friends or family could access his house in case of an emergency. These small but thoughtful precautions are common among those living alone. From wearing alert devices to staying connected with neighbors, these steps ensure independence without compromising safety. Online forums are filled with similar advice, with people sharing how these measures give them the confidence to live alone while staying prepared for the unexpected. Living alone doesn't have to feel risky. By thinking ahead and embracing safety measures like Mr. Anderson did, you can maintain your freedom while knowing you're protected. It's about creating a safety net for yourself, proving that independence and preparedness can go hand in hand. With these steps, living alone can be empowering, even as you navigate life's later years. Loneliness is often considered a challenge of living alone, even for introverts who cherish solitude. Mrs. Thompson, a retired librarian, found herself grappling with this unexpected reality after her children moved away and her social circle began to shrink. Days turned into weeks without a single conversation. And while she appreciated her independence, she missed the casual interactions of daily life, the shared laughs, small talks, and companionship of a partner. Determined to address this void, Mrs. Thompson adopted a small dog named Max suddenly. Her home wasn't as quiet, and her routine took on new meaning. Walking Max in the mornings introduced her to neighbors she had never spoken to before, and his cheerful presence brightened even the dullest days. For many living alone, pets become a source of unconditional companionship. As one woman shared on a forum, "My cat doesn't talk, but he's always there when I come home. And that makes all the difference." Beyond pets, others find solace in joining community activities, such as book clubs or local classes, where they can build new connections and create opportunities for meaningful interaction. Mrs. Thompson's experience highlights an essential truth: even the most solitary individuals crave connection. By finding ways to integrate companionship into daily life, whether through pets, hobbies, or social activities, you can turn loneliness into an opportunity for growth and joy. Independence doesn't mean isolation, it's about creating a life where you feel both free and connected. Keeping up with home maintenance can become one of the biggest challenges of living alone, especially as we age. Mr. Harris, a retired engineer in his late 70s, once prided himself on being able to fix anything around the house. However, as the years went by, He found that tasks like climbing a ladder to clean the gutters or lifting heavy furniture became more daunting. One winter, after struggling to shovel snow from his driveway, he realized he needed a new approach. Instead of pushing himself to exhaustion, he hired a local handyman for the heavier chores and focused on smaller tasks that he could manage comfortably, like tidying his garden or organizing his workshop. Many older adults face similar struggles with home upkeep. A woman in a forum shared how her once detailed to-do list of home projects had turned into a source of stress. Overwhelmed by the number of tasks, she decided to downsize her home to reduce the burden. Living in a smaller space not only lightened her workload but also allowed her to enjoy a more manageable and peaceful lifestyle. Mr. Harris's story highlights the importance of adapting to changing energy levels. Asking for help, hiring assistance, or even downsizing can make a significant difference in maintaining a comfortable and stress-free living environment. Home is a place of rest and joy, not a source of constant worry. By being proactive and realistic about your capabilities, you can ensure your space remains a haven, allowing you to focus on the moments and activities that truly matter. For those living alone, daily routines can become a source of comfort, stability, and joy. Mrs. Whitman, a retired teacher in her 70s, discovered this when she found herself adjusting to the quiet of living solo. At first, the emptiness of her home was unsettling, but she soon realized that creating a routine gave her days a sense of purpose and structure. Every morning, she played her favorite jazz playlist while brewing coffee, turning an ordinary task into a small celebration. In the afternoons, she took a stroll through her neighborhood park, greeting familiar faces along the way. By evening, she looked forward to a crossword puzzle or an episode of her favorite mystery show. Many older adults share similar experiences. One man in a forum described how watering his plants at sunset became a sacred ritual. "It's not just about the plants," he wrote, "but the peace it brings me, the rhythm it adds to my day." These seemingly small habits offer a sense of control, providing moments to anchor the day and bring a feeling of accomplishment. Routines aren't just about filling time, they're about creating meaning. Mrs. Whitman's morning playlist or the gardener's evening ritual transforms solitude into an opportunity for mindfulness and joy. Living alone allows for routines uniquely tailored to your preferences, free from the influence of others. Embrace these habits as a way to celebrate your independence and turn everyday moments into meaningful rituals that enrich your life. Cooking for one can be both a challenge and an opportunity when living alone, especially as you grow older. Mrs. Lane, a retired artist, initially found it tedious to prepare meals for just herself after years of cooking for her family. She often resorted to frozen dinners or takeout, feeling that the effort of cooking a proper meal wasn't worth it for just one person. But over time, she realized that preparing food wasn't just about sustenance, it was an act of self-care. She began experimenting with simple recipes, treating the process as a creative outlet. Her kitchen transformed into a space of joy where she could explore new dishes and revisit old favorites. Mrs. Lane found that batch cooking was a game changer. She spent Sunday afternoons preparing soups, casseroles, and stir-fries, portioning them into containers for easy reheating during the week. This not only saved time but also ensured she always had nutritious meals on hand. Additionally, she started attending local cooking classes, where she met others who shared her love of food and swapped recipes and stories. Her transformation reflects the experiences of many older adults who turn cooking into a source of fulfillment rather than a chore. By viewing meal preparation as an opportunity to nurture herself, Mrs. Lane found a new rhythm in her life. Cooking for one can be a deeply rewarding experience, an expression of self-love that enriches both the body and spirit, making every meal a moment to savor. The silence that comes with living alone can be both a blessing and a challenge, depending on how you choose to embrace it. For Mr. Carter, a retired librarian in his early 70s, the quiet of his empty home felt overwhelming at first. Having spent decades surrounded by the lively chatter of colleagues and library visitors, the stillness was unsettling. The absence of background noise made his home feel empty and stark. However, instead of letting the silence consume him, he found ways to fill the quiet in a meaningful way. Mr. Carter began playing soft classical music throughout the day, creating a soothing backdrop that brought warmth to his space. He also discovered the joy of audiobooks and podcasts, choosing topics that piqued his interest and made him feel connected to the world. Whether it was a history lecture or a light-hearted storytelling series, these additions filled his home with voices and ideas that kept his mind active. On the other hand, many older adults find the silence a gift rather than a burden. Mrs. Green, another retiree, embraced the stillness as a chance for reflection and peace. She used the quiet moments to meditate, journal, and reconnect with her thoughts, finding clarity and balance she hadn't experienced before. Silence doesn't have to be a void, it can be an opportunity. Whether through music, engaging content, or quiet reflection, finding ways to appreciate or fill the quiet can turn it into a source of comfort and creativity, making living alone a deeply enriching experience. Living alone often means you have to be intentional about staying physically active, especially as the natural rhythm of shared activities with others fades. Mrs. Dawson, a retired nurse in her late 60s, initially struggled with this. Without co-workers to remind her to stretch or a partner to join her for evening walks, she found herself sitting more than ever before. She noticed her joints stiffening, her energy levels dropping, and her mood dimming. She realized that if she didn't make a conscious effort to move, her health and well-being could deteriorate. To turn things around, Mrs. Dawson decided to incorporate small but meaningful physical activities into her daily routine. She started with light morning stretches to ease into the day, followed by a short walk around her neighborhood after breakfast. On weekends, she joined a local Tai Chi class for older adults, finding the gentle movements and sense of community incredibly uplifting. One particular strategy made all the difference. She got a small dog named Bailey. Bailey needed daily walks, which gave Mrs. Dawson a built-in reason to get outside and stay active. She quickly found herself looking forward to their strolls, which kept her moving and brought her into contact with neighbors she hadn't spoken to in years. Physical activity doesn't have to mean hitting the gym or intense workouts. It's about finding enjoyable, sustainable ways to keep your body moving. Whether it's dancing in your living room, gardening, or taking up yoga, these small efforts not only improve physical health but also boost mood and mental clarity. For those living alone, staying active isn't just an option, it's a key to thriving. Living alone can reshape your relationship with time, offering both challenges and opportunities. Without the external rhythms of a partner's schedule or children's activities, the days may stretch endlessly or slip by unnoticed. For Mr. Bennett, a retired school principal in his 70s, the unstructured time felt daunting at first. Without the bustle of a busy workplace or the regular demands of family life, he found himself losing track of days and feeling adrift. "I'd wake up on a Tuesday," he admitted, "and forget if it was even the weekend." Determined to regain control, Mr. Bennett decided to create his own rhythm. He established a loose but consistent weekly schedule to bring structure to his days. Mondays became grocery shopping and errand days. Wednesdays were reserved for a morning walk followed by time spent with his sketchpad. And Fridays were for trying out new recipes. He also carved out dedicated time for hobbies that brought him joy, like gardening in the afternoons and attending a book club on Thursdays. Others have shared similar experiences. Mrs. Adler, a former accountant, found that setting daily rituals transformed her time. Her mornings started with a crossword puzzle and a cup of tea on her balcony, while evenings were reserved for journaling and watching her favorite nature documentaries. These routines helped her stay grounded and gave her a sense of purpose. Living alone grants you the freedom to craft a life on your own terms. By building intentional routines and incorporating activities you love, you can ensure that time feels meaningful and fulfilling rather than aimless. The key lies in creating a rhythm that reflects your passions, keeps you engaged, and celebrates the unique opportunities of this phase of life. Decluttering takes on a new significance when you live alone, especially as you grow older. On the one hand, there's a sense of freedom in deciding what stays and what goes without the need to consult anyone else. On the other hand, every item in your home becomes a deeply personal reminder of your life's journey. For Mrs. Coleman, an 80-year-old retired teacher, decluttering was both a challenge and a revelation. After years of accumulating books, photographs, and souvenirs, she realized her home was filled with items that told stories, but also took up space she no longer needed. Initially, the thought of parting with these items felt overwhelming. Each object seemed to hold a memory, a scarf gifted by a friend, a painting made by her late husband, or even old report cards from her teaching days. But Mrs. Coleman decided to tackle the process with intention and care. She started with a single drawer, sorting items into 3 categories: keep, donate, and cherish. The cherish pile was reserved for items with profound meaning, which she displayed thoughtfully in her living room. This process didn't just simplify her home, it simplified her life. She found joy in the space she created and a sense of peace knowing that her home reflected who she was now, not just who she had been. Downsizing her belongings made her feel lighter, both physically and emotionally. Decluttering isn't just about getting rid of things, it's about curating a space that brings you joy and peace. By letting go of what no longer serves you, you make room for new experiences while honoring the memories that matter most. It's a powerful step toward living fully and freely in your own home. Social invitations may dwindle as you grow older and live alone, but that doesn't mean you have to let your social life fade away. The key is to take charge and create your own opportunities for connection. Mrs. Harper, a retired librarian in her late 70s, noticed a sharp decline in invitations to gatherings after her friends began moving away or prioritizing time with their families. At first, she felt isolated, waiting for her phone to ring. But one day, she decided to flip the script and be the one to initiate. Mrs. Harper started by inviting a few neighbors over for tea, a simple gesture that led to regular Sunday afternoon gatherings. From there, she formed a book club that met monthly, rekindling her passion for literature while forging new friendships. She also began organizing small events, like movie nights and potluck dinners, ensuring her home became a hub of warmth and connection. Her story is echoed by Mr. Ray, a retired engineer who turned his love for hiking into a neighborhood walking group. Every Saturday morning, he led a small group of locals on scenic trails, combining physical activity with meaningful conversations. This proactive approach not only brought joy to his life but also inspired others to stay socially engaged. The lesson here is clear: waiting for invitations can leave you feeling isolated. But creating your own opportunities for connection is empowering. Host a casual coffee morning. Start a hobby group. Or plan a shared activity you enjoy. Taking the initiative doesn't just keep your social life vibrant, it fills your days with purpose and joy while bringing people together. It's proof that living alone doesn't mean living without meaningful relationships. Self-care becomes an essential cornerstone of life when you live alone. Especially as you age. Without a partner or family member around to notice small changes. It's easy to let things slide, whether it's skipping meals, neglecting personal grooming, or postponing doctor visits. But prioritizing self-care isn't just about appearances, it's about nurturing your overall well-being and reminding yourself that you are worth the effort. Mr. Davis, a retired musician in his 70s, found himself in this very situation. After years of living alone, he noticed a decline in his habits. Meals became quick fixes. His once vibrant appearance grew dull. And he rarely exercised. One day, as he glanced at his dusty guitar in the corner, he decided it was time for change. He started small, committing to preparing one nutritious meal a day, and gradually reintroduced a daily walk into his routine. Picking up his guitar again became a ritual that rejuvenated his spirit. Similarly, Ms. Clara, an 80-year-old widower, transformed her evenings into acts of self-love. She would light candles, apply a soothing face mask, and read her favorite novels. These simple moments, as she described them, felt like gifts to herself, fostering a sense of calm and joy. The key to effective self-care is consistency. Dress each day as if you're preparing for something special. Even if you're staying home. Cook meals that nourish both your body and soul. And carve out time for activities that bring you joy. These acts of care aren't just about maintaining appearances, they're about showing yourself the respect and love you deserve. Living alone doesn't mean neglecting yourself, instead. It's a powerful opportunity to embrace self-care and celebrate the independence you've cultivated. Living alone, especially as you grow older, is a journey filled with unique challenges and rewarding opportunities. It's a time to embrace independence, rediscover personal growth, and create a fulfilling life that reflects your passions and priorities. By preparing for the unexpected, nurturing meaningful routines, and practicing self-love, you can transform solitude into a powerful source of strength and peace. This phase of life is not about limitations but about the freedom to live authentically on your terms. Take this opportunity to celebrate your achievements, foster new connections, and invest in your well-being. Whether it's through creating a vibrant social circle, pursuing hobbies, or simply enjoying quiet moments of reflection, every step you take enriches your journey. We'd love to hear your story. How are you navigating the joys and challenges of living alone? Share your experiences in the comments to inspire and support others on a similar path. Together, let's thrive.